Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining the Indian Sun for this important conversation on racism, integration, and immigration. Lately, Australia has been having a loud and often heated debate about migration, touching on racism, housing, and politics. But behind the headlines, what is life really like for migrants? Are they facing more racism? And what does it really mean to be a part of Australian society? Tonight, we'll go beyond the noise. Our panel will share their experiences and ideas about the kind of Australia we want to build together. Let me now introduce our guest. Dr. Surjit Dogradanji is an academic fellow at the Australia India Institute and an honorary postdoctoral fellow at the Asia Institute, University of Melbourne. She studies migration, identity, and diaspora, focusing on how South Asian communities balance cultural identity and belonging across countries, including Australia, Singapore, and the UK. She has written extensively on international students, multiculturalism, and the politics of race. Beena Shah is the CEO of IAEC Education Migration, a leading international education and migration consultancy founded by her late father in Mumbai in 1991. Alongside her sister Shima, she runs the business successfully for more than 20 years in Australia. Beena also runs ventures like Cutting Chai and Dulhan Exclusives and is an active community leader supporting education, entrepreneurship, and multicultural engagement. Sudhir Juneja is a business and marketing professional with experience in sales, marketing, product management, supply chain, and imports. Through his Blitzmart range, he helps businesses create content for social media and blogging. He's also a community leader, co-founding the Western Gymkhana Club and Point Cook Business Association, leading initiatives like Building Community Together and I Love Point Cook. Ishan Arya, joining shortly, is an award winning educator and leadership expert who has taught over 25,000 students from more than 120 countries. He has experience across higher education, student development, and social impact, and has trained leaders in Singapore and China. He's also a community mentor and advocate for inclusive education, leadership, and student well being. I want to start with Bina. Bina, I understand you once experienced a racial incident in the city. Would you be willing to share that story and what you took away from it? Do you think racism against Indian Australians is rising or is it mostly amplified by social media?
Um, Racism has always been present. It has been more visible because of social media, I believe. And incidences keep happening far and few. I won't say very, very recurring, but I wouldn't say only against Indian. Like even one Indian is being racist towards the other Indian from different state. So we cannot take away racism out of equation. But I feel off late because it's been talked about and it's being shown in social media. It has become very, people have become aware and it's become more visible. For me personally, I was just having a chat on the corner of Elizabeth and Collins Street with Dr. Ravi Shukla from RMIT, who is renowned researcher and a professor there, and another person, and someone white skinned, I wouldn't name what nationality or ethnic background they were, and they just walked past us abusing and telling, you stupid Indians, what are you doing here, and things like that. But because we are always outnumbered, probably, at an isolated incidents, and also the girl group of girls we were talking about, we are physically so small that we are always scared to confront them, and we just have to duck down, save ourselves, and move ourselves away from the situation.
Hmm. Thank you, Veena. I mean, that highlights how these experiences are unfortunately not so isolated, actually. And Sudhir, you've built multiple ventures in Melbourne. What difficulties do migrant business owners face, and how have you dealt with them?
You see, what I think that as a multicultural business owners, the challenges are there because you're settling into a new economy, plus you are having your own struggles as a first generation migrants. So there are multifaceted things which are involved. And the biggest challenge is acclimatizing yourself with the requirements of the local business regulations, acclimatizing yourself with the local culture as well. And these are the things which you kind of need to get involved with and immerse in, so that you are able to serve a much wider community with the without too much of variation in your delivery.
Mm. And how do you feel like the system could support them more?
Frankly, I haven't felt much of a gap in the system as such, that
Mm.
there is any gap in which the system has to feel anything. And the typical thing is that if you see Australia, we are all migrants except for uh, the first owners of the land,
Mm.
right? So it is a story of migration, in a success story of migration in Australia,
Mm.
and probably what the Indian community now is facing, Greeks and Italians might have faced previously.
Mm.
So it is always about the new entrant facing a bit of resistance from the older residents or the people who have come in first.
Mm.
So I think it is more of a sociological thing. Like even if in a train compartment, if there are 50 people sitting and two new people come in,
Mm.
it takes a bit of time for them to settle in,
Yeah, that's true. Very
right?
true. Yeah.
So it is always about new versus old kind of a thing,
Mm.
and anything new coming in brings with it its own facets of life.
Mm.
And even the old migrants of Indian community,
Mm.
if you see, I keep saying that very often, that in India you see there are three Indias.
Mm.
There is not one India. There is one very confident youth which is coming in now. It is very different from the time when we came, because the youth now is uh, very clear in what they want to do. They are
Mm.
very upbeat and they are very confident.
Mm.
And that is something which is really good about the new generation which is coming in.
Mm.
And then there is a generation which came in 2000, around about 2000, which is like
Early
us.
2000 early is when the Australian
These
education system opened its doors to
Yeah.
immigrant
So
residency.
I think the White Australia policy went away in 70s, if I'm not wrong.
Mm.
And
1967,
yeah,
64.
around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the people who came around that time and after that were probably professionals who came in and settled in
Mm.
here. And they were very far and few at that time. And probably they would have faced a lot of a similar kind of a thing when they would have come. So it's nothing new. I think it is all about coming and settling in. That is the main thing. And it's kind of finding your roots as well
Yeah.
as you are adapting to the new place.
Yeah. I have to quickly welcome Ishan Arya. Ishan, welcome to the show. I have already introduced you. I'll come to questions later on. But now that Sudhir has just given, we're talking anyway about integration, racism, and
Yeah.
immigration. I'll come to Sudhir. Surjit, now, your perspective as an academic would be very valuable here. From your research, what forms of racism are most common in Australian society today, and where do they show up most? Is it in institutions, daily interactions, or online?
I think it's in everyday life, really.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm just going to take you back a little bit.
yeah.
Bina's already talked a little bit about it, but you remember during COVID, yes?
Mm.
Former Prime Minister Scott Morrison said, if you can't um, if you can't look after yourself, it's time for you to go home. And
Yeah,
a lot of migrants, particularly international Indian students, skilled migrants, and everybody, they went home.
yeah,
Uh, and so at that point, we felt that, we were also being singled out. But at that point, the Asian migrants particularly Chinese were singled out. The racism against them was quite high. Your COVID bringers, go back home, yellow peril and everything. And there were incidents in the streets and things like that. That was very, very avid. But having what everybody else has said, racism has been there since, white Australia migration policy. White Australia policy was abandoned rather. And in came trying to get all the new ethnic migrants into the mainstream, but without the white Australian criteria. So they no longer had to abandon their languages, their culture, and they had to, they were exercising structural racism and inequality. Has that structural racism and inequality gone away? To some extent, yes, but to other extent, no, because we would not be having this debate today, because if it had gone away totally, then we wouldn't be discussing racism and discrimination as it exists today. It is still there. It is there in certain sectors of the government. It is there in certain sectors of the population, the Caucasian population as well. And Indian skilled migrants and international Indian students are facing racism. Trend at the moment is that this is happening globally at the moment. It's happening in the US, it's happening in UK, it's happening in Australia, it's happening
Canada.
in the Netherlands as well, which was quite shocking. Because, it's a very multicultural society there and very accommodating as well. So I was a bit surprised to see that. And yet on the other hand, we need more than 14,000 teachers to come and teach in Australia because there is a shortage. So all these people are coming not because they just thought one day I'll just get on a plane and come. It's because they're filling the shortages, the skilled shortages. So the racism is partly because we are more visible than we were before. In the 70s, as Sudhir has said, there were fewer numbers. In 2006, 7, 8, when I started doing my research on the Indian diaspora, it was a fourfold increase of international students and skilled migrants. After that, the riots, everything went down. Migration from India went down and did not recover till 2016. Then in 2023, after the borders were opened and all the migrants returned, there was an influx. And that is the influx that, the right-wing protests and everything are picking up on. They didn't come because, suddenly the floodgates had been opened, as Dutton said.
Yeah.
It isn't because the, Labour Party was looking for the ethnic voting bloc, because I don't think we vote as a bloc anyway. So that there is a misunderstanding. The racism in the UK is very different from the racism here, because Britain has a big problem on asylum seekers. The US is, of course, everybody's following the trend of what is happening in US, and the right-wingers are picking up on the same messaging here as well. So it filters down. But this racism is not anything new.
Yeah.
It's just that we're the target now, as everybody has said, it's our turn.
Yeah, and I suppose, we have to, these are stories, difficult stories to hear, but I suppose we have to really acknowledge that it is happening here. And now it's become so topical. Moving the conversation forward, integration is often talked about, but rarely defined. Ishan, how do you respond to claims that Indian migrants don't integrate? How do you define integration? Is it assimilation, or can someone be fully as Australian while proudly keeping their cultural heritage?
All right. First of all, about the accusation that Indian migrants don't integrate, I feel it's an unfair generalization, but I feel it's also an opportunity for reflection. So in any society, there will be individuals who may not fully engage with their civic responsibilities. Now, whether that's around everyday behavior, it's participation in local life, or even awareness of maybe shared norms. So at the same time, I feel countless migrants, including Indians, make enormous contributions in various fields. So we have doctors, researchers, teachers, volunteers, chefs, even truck drivers, mentors as well. So Integration, I feel integration is about active citizenship. It's about recognizing your responsibilities. It's about participating in community life and also giving back to the society that you're a part of. So I think that's very important. And coming to the topic of integration and assimilation, definitely not the same. I mean, without a doubt, they're not the same thing. So assimilation.
When you say they're not the same thing, then how would you sort of define
Yeah,
it?
see, assimilation demands erasure. So you're erasing things out completely. Integration allows for coexistence. That's the key difference between the two. One is erasure, one is coexistence. So assimilation may not be something to sort, but integration, it depends on how we approach it. Talking about integration, one can wear a kurta or a turban. You can speak your own language at home, and you can still show up at a local fundraiser. You can still volunteer. You can be at a community barbecue. You can help your mate move a house. So that's the essence of Australian mateship as well. It's being a part of the fabric, not just blending, visually. So yeah,
Yeah, no, these are very debatable terms because we talk about generally in common parlance, we talk about integration and assimilation as the same what do you call the same stroke in a brush, isn't it? Because but then there are people who say Indians come here and build their ghettos, they don't assimilate, they don't mix, they don't integrate. So sometimes
It's
I get
not
very
true.
confused myself with that whole concept of integration and assimilation. Very debatable subject. We'll leave it there for now. I would like to ask Sudhir, since you run the Gymkhana Club, which is sort of a sporting event. I mean, it's a club, but for migrants, there are many migrants who face, say, let's say, questions about national loyalty. So, for example, which sports team they support or which flag they wave. So, do you see a conflict between cultural pride and loyalty to Australia, or can they go hand in hand? And the reason I ask this is because all this debate about, when you look at social media, there are people questioning Indians settled here and their loyalty to Australia.
See, the
Deep blue.
beauty about Australia is that we can live in Australia and flaunt our Indian flag with pride. Show me one country where you can do that,
Mm.
and no one dislikes it. The issue is about respecting the local nation where you live, respecting that flag, but being proud of your own culture, your own roots where you come from. And typically, when we were designing the logo of our club, if I could show you that, it is a beautiful logo we created. On one side, we have the Indian colors. On the other side, we have the Australian color with the Southern Cross, right? And we have kind of brought everything together. And the middle stripe is a gray one, which is a mixture of two, making it as one. And I think what we are seeing uh, overall in Australia, it's a beautiful place which welcomes everyone with the open arms. Although we are at receiving end at times, but I think I haven't seen a place where you can have that much freedom as we have here.
Yeah, that's very true. Because personally, I would like to say this. I come from the northeast of India. I suffered racism on an everyday basis in Delhi, but I've never suffered
Yeah,
Agree.
racism in
absolutely.
Australia.
And I tell you that I used to work in the North India, and in North India, if we had one staff member from the Southern India, he'll have a hard time. Even the labor coming to the northern part of India from Bihar or Orissa or UP, right? It is a similar story. I think it is all about a new person coming to a place which is a very different place,
Different
and
looking,
and,
different
and looking
language.
different,
Yeah.
talking different. But I think it is all about the element of what you carry in your heart. If you go to a local cricket ground, you'll see more Indians playing rather than the Australian. Like Australia and India
Yeah.
have a very common area of cricket. And if you say in terms of adapting, I think India is very well adapted into the Australian cricket culture,
Yeah.
right? And in terms of following footy, I think you would definitely be following any team. If you live in Australia, you can't have a conversation without following a footy or a
Yeah.
footy or a rugby league or an NFL thing here. So
I'm
I think
supporting
everyone has a team. And I still remember that when I came here in 2003, I started working in Melbourne. And probably in 2004 or 5, I was tipping for the footy tipping in the office, and I won the footy tipping.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Fantastic. You did
and
well.
I had no idea how to hold the footy ball and how to kick a footy ball. But
Yeah.
still, using my analytical skills and the the tips which were coming in Harrelson and the age, I was able to find my way and do that. And I, with that money, I bought a gym.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Veena,
So
yeah.
Can I just add,
Yeah.
continue on what Sudhirji said?
I was going to ask you, yeah, you can continue what he said, but along with it, you might as well answer this question as well,
Yeah,
which is coming up.
yeah.
Do you think we're teaching our children the right lessons about being both Indian and Australian? What's improving and what still needs work? Anyway, so continue, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. We are definitely teaching our children the way the Indian festivals are being celebrated. Children are now more seeing, there was a generation who has missed out on it. When the first migrants came, their children did not have access to so many facilities, so many grants that government is already putting for
Yeah.
multiple events. And our children, I feel, are luckier to be able to attend that. But
Yeah.
when it comes to us being in huge numbers in
Yeah.
Australia,
Yeah.
as I said, my first trip was in 1993 to Australia upon invitation of Australian government and universities. So we migrants have come here because Australia has needed us or has invited us or wanted us. And that's how we have come to build the nation, to be working with them, not to be on top of them or anything. We have to hold hands and stand together parallelly. No one is in front of the other. We
Yeah.
are here because they've allowed us to come.
Yeah.
We have not come as push the door and entered, or not come in the boats like
Yeah.
a lot of the other migrants. So Australian government or multicultural side has to also coach the local Australians. How
Yeah.
we are talking about being integrated and assimilation,
Yeah.
they have to be taught as well about integrating and be welcoming and
Yeah.
adapting the various festivals. And a lot of them are like, we
Yeah.
celebrate Janmashtami, Diwali, and a lot of our Australian friends will come and join and pray and do the altars. And now they've started fasting and
Yeah.
a lot of things. People are converting, they're liking our food.
Yeah.
So, our children, we are definitely doing more than we can, I believe, trying hard to put them to the footy lessons, to send them to the temple lessons for learning slokas and mantras and rituals, getting them to attend cricket games, getting them to attend our Indian social events. So, yes, I think parents, as an Indian parents, we are running pillar to post to be accepted, to get fitted, and to make sure our children overall have a rounded personality which will work in both scenarios.
Surjit, do you Indian Australians feel fairly represented in mainstream politics, or are they often seen as voting bloc?
Definitely not. I've written quite a lot on that.
Yeah, I want you to throw
I,
some light, yes, on that. Yes.
I just want to throw some light on the integration and assimilation
Okay. Yeah.
with the abandoning of the White Australia policy. Assimilation left us. Assimilation was we abandon our own cultures and pick up the cultures of the Anglo-Celtic Australians. We weren't allowed to speak our own languages. With the integration was that you can maintain your own personal ethnic lifestyle, but also blend into the Australian way of life. And I think the Indians have done very well. Not only do we speak good English, we also speak lots of other languages culturally, which is soft power. Going to political representation, as you know, Indira, I have written that report. Indians are missing in the three tiers of the Australian government. And quite often, what I'm told is that, we're a new diaspora. Sure enough, we're a new diaspora, but, our numbers are increasing. We're the fastest growing ethnic community, which is visibility as well, which is part of the reason the racism is also growing, because we're the fastest growing community. We have more council people standing for council elections whose posters are also being vandalized and told to go home. We have a little bit of representation at state level. I think this year we have only one person of Indian heritage at state level. In federal, we have again one or two, very minimal. So when you have problems or issues like the racism and the discrimination that we want to talk about, we're not at the table. We're not there to make the decisions that affect us. So the government doesn't really know. And yes, Bina is absolutely right. We need to also educate the Anglo Caucasian population on, who are they fighting against? Are we coming on boats? We are coming to fill in the labor shortages as skilled migrants.
Skilled migrants, yes, yeah.
The threshold is so high. I'm sure half the Australians can't speak English at that level. What is required is quite. Bina will probably tell you it's quite. The threshold is.
I know what you mean. The plus side
You
is
are
also
getting
us.
cream
We're not only English speaking, but highly skilled and highest tech paying. All of that is in the plus points are not aside. But there is still the question of representation, Surjit.
Yes.
Why is that so?
Okay, I think you might have read my latest report on what does Victoria and Victorians think of India and the Indian diaspora. And it was a very positive report. The Victorians are very interested in India and the Indian diaspora. One of the things that came out of the report, the missing gap is leadership. It's leadership within the diaspora itself. And that has come out, I would say it's a critical gap that we need to look at to address. Who is speaking for the community with the government? Yes, Srinivasan has spoken as president of FIAV, stop using my community as a political football, in retaliation to what Jacinta Price has said. But, where were we all when Dutton was saying, Labour has opened the floodgates? And where are we when the Deakin elections were being held and posters were again vandalized, just because we're brown, they don't even say which part we're coming from. There's a total, we're just brown. It's just the skin color. Nobody understands whether
So my question is, is leadership a problem of the plenty amongst Indians? Because we have so many groups amongst us. So sometimes it's really hard because you have FIA, then you have this, you have that. So is that an issue?
42 associations
I
under
know
FIAV.
that's mind-boggling.
So it's just like India. There are regional associations, their language, their religion, their music, and you name it, and everybody has, an association. And then the diaspora has grown both in the southeast and the southwest. So, some of them have two parts of it. But we haven't come together as a cohort with a single voice that can talk to the government. And the government uses this as an excuse because the government says, and it's not an excuse, quite honestly, it's the truth.
Fact.
We are a very fragmented community and we need to pull ourselves together so that, again, what the panel has also spoken is, within ourselves, we're quite discriminatory.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Ishan, to get you right into the conversation again, you've come late. Sorry, I know you had your obligations now. So, in your view, when politicians make sweeping statements about how Indians vote, how does that affect the community? Does it make them feel more or less integrated?
Definitely, it hurts. It hurts the community. It hurts the, these debates definitely hurt the integration as well, because reducing the political behavior of an entire, just reducing the political behavior of an entire ethnic group to something monolithic, like a monolithic vote bank. It's pretty inaccurate. It's deeply patronizing. It's harmful as well to the democratic fabric of our multicultural society. So yes, there's no doubt about it. Voters of Indian origin, just like any other group, they are not a political bloc. Okay, they are individuals with diverse views. Those views are shaped by a wide range of factors as well. Economic aspirations, generational differences. It's also religious and regional identities. So it's also to do with their lived experiences in Australia. So when political narratives try to simplify this, try to simplify this complexity into ethnic or racial terms, it just sends the wrong message. It sends a message that migrants are not seen as, a full and autonomous citizens. They are, they are treated or they are viewed like maybe external actors whose participation is conditional or transactional. So again, coming back to integration, it just undermines the very idea of integration as well. And again, these debates often I feel they come from an undercurrent of suspicion. So,
what do you mean by that?
suspicion, you can say, is whether a particular ethnic group overwhelmingly supports one party. It must be due to ethnic patronage, backroom deals, communal interest. So rather than legitimate democratic agency. So I think it's all these doubts that are a problem. This kind of framing, what has been said, it just fosters resentment. It fuels xenophobia as well. It reinforces the false notion that multicultural communities are politically homogenous, or beholden to identity politics. So just
And I'm just going to add something to what Ishan has said. The lack of trust. We talk of lack of trust, by the Anglo-Saxon Caucasian community. But what about the fact that in areas we don't have silos for a start? We don't have ethnic enclaves in Victoria at all. We have concentrations, pockets of people, but we're not ethnic concentrations. We like all of us like living in very different areas and having different places so that we're not a tribe. But
that not be entirely true, because we have pockets of concentration, right? Like Point Cook is one, Tarneet is one.
Point Cook is a very interesting. I'll come to that. Yes, Tarneet, Truganina, they have some Melton. Other areas in the south east as well. Frankfurt, Craigieburn, all of them, they have pockets. If you look at the number of Indians compared to the population of the area, it's not a concentration. It's a pocket of people that are larger in one area, but they're not concentrations. They're not an ethnic enclave. What Ishan was saying, it's a good point that you talked about Tarneet. Tarneet had a pre-selected candidate of Indian background, but he was sidelined because of the politics. And a person from New South Wales was parachuted into Tarneet. Imagine that person coming to represent a community. They haven't even. It's the same with Point Cook as well. It is the same in other areas. So bringing people in from outside, Werribee was a very good example. The Premier had to come and give a speech to, swing the vote because Labour was losing. Labour was going to lose that safe seat. So, and we also have Indians, candidates being put in places which are,
losing
not winnable. They just have to put
they're losing seats. Like the token.
Yes, the token. Part of the problem is also with us, as Sudhir has said. We also have faults. How can we be standing for the One Nation party? How can we be standing for parties that are totally anti-migration?
They will not even give you a chance.
For Cater's party, where they actually don't like migrants. How can we be filling slots and standing for those? And that shows that we really don't understand the politics, the political parties and things like that. We do need to have civic education. Maybe government needs to do more. They do a lot, but I think at the ground level, there's a lot more needs to be done. Don't just go to the top.
And by that same token, political parties also need to invest time to study these communities, isn't it?
Yes. Don't come to the temples, and the mandirs and everything and say, we're with you and please give us your vote. Don't do that because that's tokenism.
And just approving the grants before the elections, but it doesn't
Yeah,
help
that's
with
another.
overall
Yeah,
knowledge and helping migrants integrate or helping
yeah,
locals integrate with migrant. It has
yeah.
to be both ways. It can't be only us wanting to integrate. It has to be them be able to integrate with us as well. So
Yeah.
I feel
All
it
right.
has
But
to be the
Yeah,
balancing
but
act.
yeah.
It's
All
not
right.
Meena, it was really great.
one
It was
migrant
really great.
sorry, it's not one migrant communities or migrants responsibility to integrate. We
Yeah.
have come doing a roar of hard work and well deserved passing the visa applications and things, and the locals or Australians who are here need to do their bit also to be
Yeah.
able to integrate
That's
with
yeah.
us.
Yeah. All right. Coming to the most popular topic of the day, housing. Sudhir, there's the claim that, migrants are causing the housing crisis. Is that fair?
Migrants are not causing the housing crisis at all. I think it is more to do with the people when they come in, they need homes. And when they need homes, they will buy homes and they will live in those, right? So by their coming, they're actually investing in those houses and buying those houses because they want to live, because they are actually fulfilling the great Australian dream of owning a house and living in that. And yes, if there are two people who are there, one is wanting, who has got the dream to uh, build a home and live in the home, and the other one doesn't have a dream, then in that case, we can't blame the migrant saying that somebody else doesn't have a dream.
Hmm. Yeah.
Can I just add to
And
that?
and
Yes.
and if people are coming, in fact, if you go a bit further, so if you see a migrant's life journey in Australia,
Hmm.
so probably they'll buy a house when a skilled migrant comes. Their first aim is to buy a home probably in the first 2 3 years.
Hmm.
So once they have bought the home, we are actually pretty smart in terms of managing our finances compared to a lot of other communities. We are quite financially savvy. So the next goal is to use the equity and buy investment property.
Hmm.
So when you buy an investment property, guess who lives in that? So we are actually solving the housing crisis,
Hmm.
Exactly.
right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
So when you buy a third investment property, somebody else is living in that.
Hmm.
Now, yes, a lot of these properties you're buying, probably they're not giving you enough return, but you are solving a social issue as well
Hmm.
and generating a wealth out of that. So it's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
It's making it available to someone who doesn't have a
Yeah.
house. So
Yeah, I know.
you
In
are
And
fact,
sharing
yeah.
your most precious asset with
Yeah.
a stranger in a way.
and then you get hit by the government policies which are absolutely against you. Still keep building,
Taxes,
Yeah.
yeah.
right?
I
Yeah.
think housing crisis is purely a falling of planning, I
Right.
would say.
Yeah.
Now, you tell me, how if the housing crisis was there,
Hmm.
why would so many apartments be built and they'll still be
Unsold.
vacant?
Hmm.
Unsold, yes,
Why
100%.
would people not live in those empty apartments in Docklands
Yeah.
or all those skyscrapers near the city?
Hmm. Ishan, what did you
You,
want
you
to say?
remember?
Yeah, I was
Sorry.
going to give a quick economics lesson to everyone who feels that it is the increase in demand for housing that is causing, the
Hmm.
housing crisis or increasing in prices. So I was going to say, look at this, demand curve and supply curve. When
Yeah.
the demand curve is moving to the right, it's an increase in demand. That's where people are focusing on. They're saying the demand curve is moving to the right and the prices are going up. So that's, it's causing issues. But the problem is this one, supply curve. Supply is decreasing. It's not increasing at all. That's moving to the left like this. And that's also causing an increase. So the point is, it's also the commentary that people want to, portray. If they want to really blame the demand, then yes, it's one of the causes for inflation in prices, but
Hmm.
it's deliberately neglecting the supply side. And I honestly, purely based on data, there are people who say, well, look at the number of migrants coming in and look at the number of houses being built. There is a mismatch, but it's not that. That is called growth. Australia's housing crisis is not, it's not because of migrants or people coming in. It is mainly because of chronic undersupply of homes.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
this is simply
And
misplacing,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
blame on migrants.
Yeah.
So that's one of the key things. It's under supply of homes and then we can go into the details. It's what causes that. It's zoning bottlenecks. It's decline in construction workforce as well. There is very slow planning approval process. There's structural supply constraint as well. These are the real problems that need to be focused on.
Yeah, and I feel that's why
During
migrant
COVID,
communities should be speaking out more, because we all understand this. We all understand that the housing debate that is being talked about as a result of immigrants or migrants coming in is not true. So I feel migrant communities should be speaking out more when they're used as scapegoats, as in these
scapegoats, yeah.
debates, isn't it? Now, yeah,
During COVID, all
yeah,
the migrants had come home, yet the housing prices were going up.
yeah.
So the migrants weren't here.
COVID,
But the
yeah.
housing, there was, a shortage there was a breakdown in the supply chains. The developers are making huge profits as well. Nobody talks about that.
Yeah.
A lot of the developers are Australian. So, let's not blame the easy target, which is the migrant.
Yeah, that's true. Last question. We've covered a lot of things in the short space of time. I want an answer from each one of you. Yeah, two questions actually. What should the government's main job be in bringing people together? And second, what's the most important thing community groups can do to change the conversation about migrants? I'll start with Sudhir. And then Ishan, Bina, and Surjit can have the last word as an academic.
Indira, I think I would say the government policies are not encouraging racism on paper. So it'll be unfair to expect a lot from the government. I think it is all about the communities working together and trying to solve the problem. And for example, in the community where we live, I think quite well we are addressing these issues, and we are working in spite of whatever rallies are happening. The communities are bound very well together, and we are working on those lines. As community leaders, I think it is really sad to see that people who are elected previously and who were perceived as community leaders, none of them has opened their mouth on any of the issues. And that kind of puts in doubt about their position as leaders, because quite frankly, if the leaders don't step up at the occasion when they need to, probably we need to change the leadership at that time. And we are actually getting frustrated with the first generation leadership which we have in this country from the migrant community. And I have a huge hope from the second generation which is coming into politics. And I see a lot of leaderships, and they're adapting and coming into politics quite early. I frankly do not have any hope from the first generation migrants in leadership, because everyone comes with an agenda. Serving the community and doing something well for the community is not the point for them. And I think they're more into temporary fame and power.
Serving themselves.
Yes. And I think that is the mindset which I think there is a huge influence of the Indian politics into the first generation when we come here, and we carry that baggage with us.
Yeah.
And that brand of politics is not acceptable in India. And that is why you will see that none of the leadership is actually gaining any ground here. Temporarily, they'll get a position here and there because of fluke. It is not a well-designed leadership work they have done. It is simply because of fluke chances that they got those positions. So the ground level work has not been done by them, but the next generation, definitely, if they're choosing politics as their area, we are seeing quite a few faces which are coming up. They will do really well.
Yeah. Ishan, you make it short. Yeah.
It's always difficult for me to make it short. Gosh, that's a challenge.
Sorry.
I feel, something that we all know, governments need to invest in, I feel, proactive cohesion building and not just reactive responses. I'll leave it to that part, like an idea from what's expected from the government. It's not just about controlling migration. It's about how they shape people live together. And one quick note about our community leaders, they must go beyond just representation, and they should actively build bridges, building on to what Sudhir said as well. Do the groundwork, build bridges, not just talk about representation. And also what's very important is they should encourage, and we should all encourage, participation of our communities in broader civic life and challenge our internal biases within our own communities. So yeah,
Yeah.
I kept it short.
Yeah. Thank you. Bina, you?
Yeah, I ditto exactly what Ishan said. And government or leaders, the community leaders, just attending the events is not enough.
Yeah.
You need to work on both ends, not only on either migrant side or a normal overall community side. So, and I hope these incidences against the Indians or migrants, they get fairer and fewer, because last week I had a staff who was going in a bus, public transport, and driver shouted and yelled and made each and every migrant get off the bus. And I'm taking it like to the really next level. All the Asians and Indians who were on the bus stopped in middle of nowhere and just told them to get out of the bus, and that was the driver himself. So if the workers who are in public
Horrible. Yeah. I hope they
sector,
made a complaint about it, though.
yeah, yeah, I am encouraging the girl to come forward, and she's so scared and mortified. She wouldn't even take public transport anymore. So, whenever she finishes her work, she calls one of her other friends, male friends, to come and pick her up, and they take her transport together and get to wherever they go. So, I am preparing a report or like incident report and taking it forward, but I don't want to hear these things, more
You
and
need to do
more.
that. You need to chase that complaint.
100%. I am not going
Yeah.
to stop it,
Yeah.
because this was absolutely not acceptable behavior from a
Definitely
public
not.
servant. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as I said, integration has to work from both sides, and that's my say on that. Dr. Suj.
Sujit, yeah, your last words.
I think the government is making changes as well. If you look at the political leaders going out, their assistants, executive officers who travel with them are doing their internships. So that is a pipeline of Indian youth coming into politics. So they're picking up the rein and getting into the mainstream politics slowly but surely. However, when we look at Jane's List or Women in Politics, the courses or the training that is offered by universities, I hardly see any Indian names there. They're not going there. They're not taking up the grants. They're not taking up the initiative to go and learn how to do politics. And I use the word do politics in the Australian way of life. It's not about standing and then saying, stood for Labour Party, stood for that, and use it as your, business card and things like that. It's not a photo op shop kind of thing. You post on Facebook and Instagram and say, I was here and there. That shows a total lack of understanding of what the Australian politics demands. And also, there are leaders, there are people who are ready to step in. If you look at Lisa Singh, the Tasmanian senator, she was a senator, she was very successful, and yet the government itself moved her down the polling list, the bottom half of the voting block, so that she didn't have a chance to stand. So even when there are leaders, the government doesn't help us. So it's a two-way journey. It is learning on both sides. It is a bridge. We have to integrate the political bridge as well, but we also need to make demands of both the government to do a better job, not rock up just before elections at our community halls and temples and things like that. It's symbolic. We are tired of tokenism. We also need the community to do a better job of giving leadership. These sporadic comments of Srinivasan or Dev Sharma are just not enough. They don't take the crux of the matter at hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. It is a bridge, and we need to build those bridges, and we make it. We have to make it a two-way street.
Indra, can I just bring in one point which I think we all missed out?
Yes.
So, because Australia is not in a life in silo, so people are observing same in India, that people are seeing what is happening in Europe, and probably that has put the alarm bells around the world,
Yes.
and that is a classic example of what's happening in France or Britain in terms of if the migration policies go wrong, what can happen. And I think that is bringing in a lot of caution in the other places, and
Yep.
the
Definitely.
and the right wing has got air out of that, saying that, look, this is what we've been saying.
Yeah.
If you continue doing this, you'll get this result.
Yeah.
So we have to be very
But
mindful of those situations that is impacting the local communities wherever we are, and people are seeing those kind of things, and probably they have a bit of sense there that why they are thinking the way they are thinking. But for us, it is highly important that we keep doing the good work which we are doing and keep building the reputation as migrants, especially if we are from the Indian community. We have the onus of building it for ourselves and also for all the other migrant communities.
Yeah.
It is very important.
Very true. And really
Sudhir, it's absolutely true because our conservative liberal party is actually taking Trump's agenda and bringing it into the local politics. But at the same time, if we look at Japan and Germany, they have set up, invested in India, and they're actually training the migrants for their needs in language and culture and everything, and giving them not a 5-year visa, but a 10-year visa. They can renew that visa because they're so desperately needed. So if Australia says, we don't want Indians, or the UK, the rest of the world is quite open. So, we
Yeah.
also need to stand up and challenge it and say,
Yeah.
you need me just as much as I need you. It's not a one-way street.
Street. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for your valuable inputs, Surjit, Sudhir, Ishan, Veena. This conversation doesn't end here. I'm sure we will continue to have these conversations again. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you, Indra.
you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank
Indira.
you,
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.